Hello everyone, welcome to my next video tutorial. I had many questions about painting those glowing runes from you for some time, and because when I was recording my original video I had way worse camera than now, I decided to just record it once again and hope that now every detail will be visible for you. And I also bought sky blue paint, and so the recipe for blue is much easier now because I'm just mixing three colors and in easier proportions. But back to the theory that I'm explaining really often is that when I'm painting, I'm using skills that I developed during learning how to draw. So the thing is that if you push harder your pencil to paper, you leave more of this charcoal or graphite on the paper, but if you touch it less, you leave in smaller amount, and I'm doing the same with my paints. So as you can see, I'm starting here and I'm pushing harder my brush to the surface, leaving more paint, and then I'm trying to touch the surface less and less, and then I'm simply leaving less and less of paint, and that's how I'm making a lot of transitions. But as you already know, I'm also mixing this with creating layers of paint. So for painting these runes, again, now I need medium blue, sky blue, white, and a bit of glaze medium because it's making the mixture a bit more liquidity. Okay, back to the mixtures. I'm going to make 3 layers. First layer is just medium blue. Next one is 50-50, medium blue and sky blue. So now it's much easier than with mixing with white. Okay, this is exactly what I want to have. Color that is exactly between those two colors. And then as the next layer I want sky blue with just a little bit of medium blue. The goal here is just to have the sky blue a little bit darker than this clean paint just straight from the bottle. So just very small amount of blue. And the brightest color that I'm going to use here is mix 50-50 of sky blue and white paint. And I just added too much water right now. Even a bit more white. For this painting I'm going to use Winsor Newton Series 7 size 1 paintbrush. Okay, and we can start now. So as you can see, I already prepared runes. The hardest part in painting all of this was, of course, painting those runes in a way that they are not crooked or anything else. So I just, of course, first created them with a very thin layer of white paint, and later I simply repeated painting over them with white paint. Okay, let's zoom it a bit. Okay, so let's go with the first layer. Like I said a moment ago, it's just medium blue. Just paint everything around here. I have here pretty small area to paint, so I can basically cover everything with this medium blue paint. But if you would have a bigger area from glow to dark, then you just you are deciding where the glowing ends. So you are making boundaries of how much area is lightened up by those glowing elements. Okay, so now the next layer, painted with this color. Like remember, that was basically 50-50, sky blue and medium blue, but just look to try to just recreate color that will be like, just between those two colors. I mean by saturation, its brightness, that it's supposed to just be half of one and another. It's not, what I mean is that it's not always just like mixing 50-50 things. Sometimes you need to add one color more than another to have this feeling that it's exactly, its brightness is exactly between both of them. So as you can see, of course, next layer is closer to this white painted room. As you can see now, space between one of this white line and another is very small, so I'm basically painting everything with this bright color because, like I earlier said, that this is supposed to be, that's how I decided that this is how far they are glowing, so it's covering both spaces here, so basically everything between them is bright. Okay, so the next layer is applied. And of course, now let's go to this brightest one. And of course, now I'm painting the closest layer. When you've got straight line like this, it's good to make movements of your brush like this. Like go with the shape of your brush, not against it. Then it will be easier to make a straight line. Oh, and this one is not. Now I think that maybe this exact rune was not the best idea for tutorial. But I guess it's too late. I mean that there are those spaces between those runes are too small. And it's going to be a bit harder to present on a video than, for example, those triangles. But it's too late now. I'm going to lie a little in these places like here, because everything in such a small scale, everything supposed to be painted basically as a bright blob, but I want to keep this parts of this pattern more visible, so I'm going to paint a bit less of light in some places close to this and these elements. You will see this in a moment. This is not how light would react, but sometimes it's necessary when you're working in such a small scale if you don't want to lose detail. As you can see, now I'm painting another layer, but now I'm finally painting over these black lines between earlier painted layer of this bright and you see, I'm finally painting closer to those white lines. Now, as you can see, this white line is barely visible. I'm going to fix this in the last step. Okay. Whew. So these are the layers that I was talking about, and now it's time to finally start blending. Okay, so for this, let's take this color and add glaze medium to it. To everything. And now, oh no, I thought that I can zoom it a bit more for you, but this is maximum of what we can get. Okay, so like I presented you earlier with this pen, I'm just starting touching it with bigger strength, and I'm barely touching it on the edges here. In this way I'm leaving very small amount of paint. And it's good to also try to touch this with the edge of the paintbrush, because then it's going to be a bit smoother. I will fix this later. Or now, simply if it doesn't work, look like you intended, just make a few touches with very diluted darker paint, in this situation medium blue, and basically let's glaze it. Using basically the same technique. And now this brightest color. Say I'm doing the same thing, I'm adding more of medium blue. And now my eyes are going to really hurt, because I'm going to look on it very closely. Okay, you can see this. Okay. So again, I'm trying to barely touch the surface. Like, I'm basically scratching it a little bit. I hope that this is visible now on this video. Because I know that it can also look like things are just happening, but like I told you, by very delicate, barely scratching surface with the paintbrush, I'm just leaving very small amounts of paint on its surface. How you see now I'm touching with the tip, not with side of the tip, and it's not blended in the same way. So I'm taking a bit of earlier mixture, and now I'm using the side of the tip of brush, and I'm making it, and I made it too dark. Painting things like this is very often just going back and forth and trying to fix things, and it's not easy. And sometimes it's better to just leave things the way they look, because you can spend simply too much time on painting one element, just like I always do. And I guess you want to finish your miniatures faster. Now I completely forgot that I have to paint this part here also. You can, of course, between those layers, mix all those colors that I presented to you to have a bit darker and a bit brighter mixture. It's very useful because sometimes you, of course, need some mid-tone. Again, very diluted, brightest mixture. But in the middle of elements like this, it's going to be a bit harder because it's never working the way I intended. Okay, I'm really unhappy with this, what happened here. So again, I'm taking this darker mixture. I'm going to now try to make edges a bit darker. Now I'm going back for this just for medium blue. I'm going to try make the middle of this rune a bit darker because this one is much darker. And again, I'm just trying to touch it a little bit. I'm making tiny dots. They are so tiny I don't even see them. I just, after a while I see when some area is getting darker. I think I can forget about having hopes to have those two sides of this rune identical. Okay, so go back for this brightest color. Okay, I think that it won't be better, so it's better to leave it like this for this moment. And let's go for another rune. Again, this side is the easiest because now I'm painting with side of my brush. Now I added just a little bit of a mixture to have another mid-tone. Now back for the brightest color. Now here, this is going to be very hard. Between them, I think I will need to just try to make some things darker than try to blend bright color with the background. Okay, so I'm taking this area, darker mixture. I'm basically glazing now the space between those colors and a bit of glaze here. Okay, thanks to that, I'm going to have here another mid-tone, and I'm going to blend in the same way like earlier in a moment. Okay, it's working pretty good so far. And a bit in the middle. Now again back to the brightest mixture. Again, very delicate, gentle touches of my brush. Oh, sorry. Okay, now I need to grab it in the other way. Okay. So now I'm going back again for this darker mixture. And I'm glazing edges here. Okay. I'm afraid that my camera started to consider those rules as the source of light. I hope that I will be able to fix this later in post-production. Okay. And when I'm keeping it like this, it's working better. Okay, now those patterns here. Again, I'm taking darker mixture. And I'm glazing edges. Again, brightest mixture. And gentle movements of brush. It's supposed to be brighter. I don't know why I left it dark like here. And again, I don't know why the middle I left so dark. It needs to be brightened. Okay, and now finally I'm taking this Arial mentioned brightest mixture of sky blue and white paint, and I'm going to finally paint in the middle of those rooms. Of these rooms. To get rid of those black lines and make the shape of runes more visible. And because I have here still left some black lines, so I'm going back to this area, brightest mixture. And I need to fix this because now at this point I can't have any black lines anywhere. Okay, fixed. So it's glowing right now. Let's go to the pattern above it. And it's broken. It's very hard when you're painting such a small details and you want to have the shape be perfect. Okay. Okay, now go back to these things here. Okay, so I'm finishing finally this, I'm going again back to this brightest mixture, and again I'm trying to get rid of those black lines. Now I decided to just make a few more movements with this the brightest color on the edges of earlier created shapes, because it doesn't seem too realistic for me, but it's almost done. Okay. Okay, so as you can see, I just presented to you how I painted this runes right here. And I hope that this time everything was understandable and you could see every detail and you enjoyed this video. Okay, see you next time. Bye.